Welcome. Take It Up with Jessica Lee. I'm here with Amritesh Chaudhuri, who is the SVP of Product Marketing from RingCentral.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me here.
I am excited to talk to you because I've been following RingCentral. I know you guys are the leader on the Magic Quadrant, and your stock is skyrocketing, right?
Yeah.
Exciting time, but lots of innovation too.
Lots of innovation. The market is changing around us. The technology space around us is changing. The way we communicate, collaborate is changing. So good times for us.
Yes.
This is our time.
So let's hear about some of the recent innovation in AI, in the acquisition recently also that enables you to have this aggregate of social media data.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So let me start with that. About 8 months ago, we acquired a company called Demelo, which was a company based out in France. And what that has done is it has allowed us to really change the game when we talk about customer engagement, right? So if you look at the market, they were using these big old dinosaur terms like omni-channel and all this stuff, which customers like you and I, we don't understand. So we think about the space as an omni-digital space because communication has evolved where it is not just voice anymore. So when you have a problem with a certain business, more often than not, what you'll find is that people are using digital channels. So they're using Twitter and Facebook and WhatsApp to communicate to these businesses about what they want and how they would like to be served. But the problem is that most of these businesses, the way they solve that problem is an intern with a Twitter account. And that just doesn't scale, right? So we acquired this company, Demelo, and what that company does, it really aggregates all of these different social media identities into one main site, where it's a one-stop shop where an agent doesn't have to go hunting across different social channels to kind of serve you better. They come to one place where they see all of the different social information coming in and presented to them in a single dashboard, and they respond.
Well, that's convenient, but at the same time, I'm thinking that's a lot of different conversations that they have to read. So is there AI to suggest what to do?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're hitting the nail on the head. So we use AI in two different ways. One is where we do intent classification, skills classification. So when these messages come in, how they are routed to the right agent. Right, so how they're routed to the right person with the right skills to respond to them. So that's one piece of it. The second is what we do with AI in our broader ecosystem. Right, so where we are a full stack business communications, unified communications as a service provider. Right, so how do you analyze your calls to do performance coaching or intent extraction, do dynamic scripting? So when you call a customer service agent, one of our customers is using this large insurance company where they are able to dynamically offer their customers agents dynamically create offers without them being scripted based on based on what they would like, what they would need. And the same thing is happening for sales, like sales teams making calls outside.
Right. That's right.
How do you extract some of that information to do performance coaching?
Yes.
Right? What is working, what is not working, so that you improve the quality of these calls for the people who are not performing well, and you learn from the people who are really doing well.
That's exciting.
So all of those pieces are coming together, and there's been a lot of innovation in the last 6 or 8 months in those areas, along with our core bread and butter, which is the entire unified communications as a service portfolio.
Now you do product marketing, right?
I do.
Like go-to-market, messaging, positioning.
Messaging, positioning, pricing, what we tell our sales, how do we take those motions to market, all of that.
The partners also?
Absolutely.
Okay. So given that you have a lot of products and different audiences, how do you then make sure it is effective in what you do? How do you measure that?
So So two very good questions. So first is in terms of measurement. At the end of the day, from my perspective, I measure my the internal part of what we do as with pipeline metrics. So I look at what are I don't think leads. I think demand. So how am I driving awareness in the market? Do people know about RingCentral? Do people know the business value and the business outcome which we are trying to solve? That's the big piece which I'm trying to solve, which I'm trying to kind of drive with our internal organizations. And then I measure what is the associated pipeline which I'm creating with the programs I'm driving, which create awareness, which create demand, which bring the right set of sales motions to market. So it's not like going in and being a car salesman, but going in and trying to really solve a customer problem. How do I rally around that? Right? So, the way we communicate and collaborate has changed, right? But how do we get that right message so that you don't think about what a PBX is? You think about, hey, I want to communicate and I want seamless communication and collaboration. So I can use call, I can use messaging, I can use meeting in the right context and get that across to my user groups. So how do I enable that? That's the way I think about it.
So you talk about awareness.
Sure.
Especially because you are growing, the people might know only one thing, but there's a lot more to RingCentral that they need to be aware of, right?
Absolutely. Our portfolio has grown significantly.
Yeah. So besides awareness, what other challenges do you face?
So the second big piece is because we are a full stack, business communications or unified communications as a service provider. We have to drive. My team has the charter to drive adoption as well. So you may be using our services, but not knowing about the rest of the portfolio.
Okay.
So you may use, say, calling, some of the calling capabilities, but we have very rich team messaging capabilities. We have very, very strong embedded video capabilities for you to kind of host meetings, etc. You may not know about some of those. And so my job is to also drive the right programs which drive adoption in our, kind of the UC portfolio, the Unified Communications portfolio, as well as the customer engagement portfolio. What we talked about earlier about the RingCentral Engage Digital, the company which we acquired, there isn't a lot of awareness about it.
That's right, I've never heard of this.
And so we're driving awareness, but then we're going back to our install base. People who have either bought a contact center solution from us or a UC solution from us to talk about, how that RingCentral Engage Digital can help them and how they can drive adoption in their in their install bases.
I think product marketing owns the content creation, like product knowledge, information, use cases. Right. So is that what you do? You actually have to create all of this, or your team has to create all of this?
Absolutely. So the way I think about this, that's why this organization is more of a strategy go-to-market organization, where there are we sit. I'd like to believe that we are the glue between two different teams, the glue between product and sales organizations, right? So product defines the core use cases and the core feature sets which they're gonna bring to market. I take that and kind of embellish them into business outcomes. How do those use cases tie into business outcomes? And then my team then kind of from there on out creates the right kind of sales go-to-market strategies. So what are the sales programs we're going to run, and how are we going to run them? It's not a cookie cutter system doesn't work, right? We have different segments of the market where, for example, an SMB, they don't know what UC is. They don't know what a UCaaS solution is. They care about a business phone system or a business messaging system. How do I message at that level? And then how do I message at the enterprise level where they are looking for enterprise grade features? So that's one segment. The other segment is if I am an inside sales organization and I'm calling, I'm going to be talking to a certain persona versus a field sales organization who's going in and say talking to a CIO or a C-level line of business person. So the message for that, or for an inside sales organization is fundamentally different than the message which goes to a CIO. So, but they're also related as well. So how do you create sales programs by seller type, but make sure the messaging all comes together? and the offers all come together. So how do you price? How do you package across those segments? So those are some of the things which I deal with in my daily life and have fun with. But we'll see how this goes. This has been a great ride so far.
Now you actually have to supply all this content to not just sales, but I hear that customer success teams have to take this content because they own the retention, adoption, and expansion.
Totally. So, I'm so glad you're asking me these questions, because people think that, product marketing organizations typically work only with sales. It is absolutely not true. CSM, so the customer success manager, that organization, which is in the front lines to drive adoption, they also need the right set of programs. They need to be able to map out a customer success roadmap. So from the time you start working on the product portfolio, so say you start with, I'm going to start with just the calling pieces. How do I drive the right set of content with customer success teams to get them to start using messaging, to get them to start using team, more meetings, as well as then talk about the entire customer engagement portfolio. So they're the ones who are fronting those conversations, but they're fueled by the programs which my team is driving.
Yes. This is wonderful. I'm so glad you tell me all this, because I've been watching RingCentral, and it sounds wonderful. These tools that you have, especially this Engage Digital. So how many products are there now? So
we have two big categories. So one is on the unified communication side. We have our product portfolio, which is called RingCentral Office, which has all of the call, message, and meeting capabilities. And we are continuously evolving that portfolio with enterprise-grade features, global features, mobility features, and the list goes on. But then what we have started to realize in the last several years is that if you enable your employees to work better, guess what happens? You automatically serve your customers better. So those same tools need to transcend to customers. So how do you help agents collaborate the same way you and I would collaborate as employees, right? So we are now extending this where we have a full contact center solution. I talked about Engage Digital, which we acquired about 8 months ago. About 6 months ago, we acquired another company called Connect First, which has now become also part of our portfolio, and we call that Engage Voice, which now takes outbound voice capabilities to a different level. So we now marry Engage Digital, Engage Voice together to create that right experience, because as customers who want to interact with businesses, nobody wants to be marketed to. Everybody wants to be engaged, and so that's the kind of the paradigm which we are trying to drive with the really rich conversations across social, across voice, between Engage Voice and Engage Digital.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Amrit, for being on the show and talking about all this innovation. That's very exciting.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Thanks.
There you have it, folks. Take it up with Jessica Lee, Amritesh Chaudhuri from RingCentral.
Thank you.